my God. You guys are not going to freaking believe it. My dad and my brother are here. Yay. My dad did not want to do this. I begged him. I was like, Dad, I even took a poll online and you guys were like, yeah, we want him to do it. 91% of you wanted to hear my dad's stories. And I have to tell you, my whole storytelling and things that have happened to me and being able to share them comes from my dad, because my dad's told me so many stories about his childhood and all kinds of worse that you've had. And I've even shared some of them on here, but you have so many. We can just dive right into it. Like, I want you to tell the story about the rope swing.
Oh, when I was young kids.
And when he was a kid in Philadelphia.
Yeah, we lived outside and lived in an area in Philadelphia. It was up against Curtis Arboretum Park. And when we were kids, we used to that was our playground. It was we go in through the back of a parking lot and go down into the Arboretum. We had a rope swing, and we basically used to use that and swing out over the creek and went over. And one day we went over to the rope swing, and some guy had hung himself with our rope swing.
And how old were you when you walked out there and saw this?
Oh, we were really young. I'd
like
say
7?
No, it was older than that. We were like
10?
9 or 10 years old.
And what was your first thought when you first looked at that guy hanging there?
Well, we thought somebody was playing a joke on us because it didn't look like a person, because he must have been hanging there for a little bit. And
what did he look like?
It just
and he doesn't want to describe it. Like purple, swollen.
Yeah, it was black. Black. Black because he had been hanging there.
His skin turned purple.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, we weren't sure if it was real or not, so we're poking it with a stick, and finally somebody ran and got somebody from the nearby building, and they came out, and next thing we know, the police came out and
the reporters
basically cut the guy down. And I said to the cops, I said, so we have our rope swing back? And guy just said, go away, kid.
You didn't even care about the guy that was dead. You're like, can we get our swing back?
He could care less.
Didn't that affect you, seeing a dead guy?
Not really.
Have you seen a lot of dead people?
No, not that many. But
have you seen a couple?
I've seen more than one, yeah.
Tell me more stories about dead people.
Well, no.
I want to know.
I was working in the sewer one time. We ran across somebody who had, dumped somebody down the drain. A sewer manhole had tied them up, killed them.
They tied him up?
I guess they had killed him and dumped him into a manhole.
And you found him?
And I didn't. The crews did. So, but we came out to see what they were running into. Yeah, I worked in as an engineer. I was working in the sewer systems.
I know you did.
In some of the big cities, and
you had to crawl through shit for how many years? Dad just trudging through shit.
Be some surprised at some of the stuff you would see. The not dead bodies, but the rats. The rats were the size of dogs, and
really, how big was the rat? Show us visually.
Well, there were wharf rats. They're about like this.
A wharf rat?
Can I just jump in real quick?
Yeah, go
ahead.
Dad
told me a story about when he was working in the sewer one time, and he was like, "What are you grabbing, like a sewer line or something?"
Oh, and
you fucking put it in your mouth or something.
Oh. Yeah.
So he basically put shit in his fucking mouth.
Ew.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of my worst jobs.
How did you not get E. coli?
It was one of my worst jobs, but it was one of the most. It's one of the worst jobs. It was one of the most fascinating jobs I had when I first graduated college. I went out as an civil engineer and started working with this company, and we were doing sewer studies. And
who wants to do a sewer study? Hey guys, welcome to life.
You gotta learn.
To work in a sewer.
That's how you get experience.
My dad just raises his hand.
Wait, remember when Dad took us to see the big vats of shit when we were younger?
Oh my God. Okay, when me and my brother were little, my dad was like, I got a field trip for you guys. We're like, oh, sick. Are we going to Dorney Park? He's like, kind of. And we show up at this place, right? And
sewage treatment plant.
It's a sewage treatment plant, and there's these giant vats. Like when you flush a toilet, you guys, you ever think about like where does all that shit go, right? Like where does it go? Because it has to accumulate somewhere. So it goes to a sewage treatment plant, and they fill up these giant vats, and they're big churning things stirring it, and it's just shit. It's filled with shit, and there's grates, and you can walk across the top of the shit, and everyone's wearing like hazmat suits, and we're walking across literally a giant spinning vat of shit, just like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but like the depressing version. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like the disgusting version, yeah.
You guys didn't like that.
We were like, ew, and it smelled so bad. And then there was a giant vat of piss. And then what do they do with all the shit and piss?
Well, they basically treat it a couple stages, and eventually they clean it up to the point that you saw the clear liquid coming out of the plant. It was
but where does that go?
It goes into rivers. And then,
So shit, when you flush a toilet,
yeah. Goes
just
to a
tell
sewage
me where your
treatment-
shit goes.
Shit goes to a sewage treatment plant, and the treatment plant cleans it up, and then they dump it in the river.
They put it in a
And
river.
then it goes through your faucet and you fucking drink it.
Why you have standards?
Ew.
Come on,
It's like a human centipede.
Right? Am I right about
They
that?
have standards to meet so that it doesn't pollute the river, and basically, eventually, it gets recirculated, and you can be drinking it. That's the way it goes.
Wait, so your shit and piss, it all gets dumped in a river?
Rivers, streams, and a lot of people have what they call on-lot systems at their house. So it goes into a big tank in their backyard and then percolates into the ground. Goes into the groundwater. Groundwater eventually gets to the river. River eventually gets to the ocean, so on. So
you're swimming and drinking shit.
yeah, basically,
pretty much.
water is recirculated time and time again. It's been doing that since the beginning of time. So
That's disgusting. Just to
you're
think
probably
about.
drinking dinosaur urine right now.
Ew. I mean, because you think about it, humans, like literally, some people take like 4 shits a day. Like people who are on a high fiber diet. I know girls, they're like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Like vegans, they literally shit so much. Like, think about all the people that are shitting and peeing. And it's like, it's definitely, they're just pouring it in rivers after it's treated.
Yeah.
It's treated and it turns into what?
It's water. It's always water. You just remove more and more contaminants. One big thing that's happening now is with the contamination that there's exotic chemicals that are in the water now that basically treatment does not remove. So like your birth control pills and your antidepressants and all that stuff.
So just drinking Prozac water.
A sewage treatment plant is not designed to remove those types of contaminants.
So now
And
that
so
stuff's going in the
our
water.
rivers have become more and more contaminated with what I call these extra chemicals that have been got in the systems. You heard about the little plastic pieces that get through, like those microfiber towels that are actually made of plastics.
Which ones?
Different ones. Even like your flushable wipes sometimes
Yeah.
have them in them. Well, that gets broken up and the little plastic pieces make it out to the rivers and water, and they're microscopic.
So then they're in
And
the
so
water.
they're in the water, and you're basically, you're going to be drinking them in and so on.
And so here's what I've heard. I've heard that if you pick up water and it says purified water,
Right.
that's water that used to be.
No,
Like-
it's water that came out of like it's water that was basically treated beyond what the regular water treatment plant. So in other words, you have a water treatment plant which takes in water and that treats it as well. And then what happens is some companies buy water from a local municipal government's treatment plant and they run it through membranes, and that's purified water.
So it used to be pee-pee and poopy, but now
Well,
it's
all
purified
water
drink.
is at one point was contaminated with something. So
What about fresh spring water? That's better to drink, like these Arrowhead bottles.
Well,
Not to advertise Arrowhead, but you know.
you gotta understand.
It says 100% mountain spring water.
Well, that's okay.
Is this cleaned?
No, I don't know what they do, Arrowhead. Some companies take spring water and they still treat it some more. Again, there's a certain standards that spring water has to meet, but there might be contaminants in it that are not regulated, so you
Right.
might end up with things. Usually, if you go to a company's webpage, you can look up what's in their water or not. And they use all different kinds of sources. They might use a river source. They might mostly use spring water. Usually uses groundwater sources.
Arrowhead, a local favorite.
Yeah.
This
So-
is my favorite water. Oh my God, really? Really, Patricia? Okay, so what is do you guys remember that time when that was Lake Erie where you found that crazy jelly?
No, that was Lake Nakamixon.
Lake Nakamixon.
Yeah.
And whoever is listening to this, if anyone
That
lives
jelly
in
mass.
Pennsylvania,
Brought home.
that was like this giant. You found that thing in
It's
the
just
river. It was like a
natural
jelly.
It was natural.
It looked like a jellyfish, and it was in the river.
It was in Lake Nakamixon.
It was in Lake Nakamixon, and you
Yeah.
brought it home in a big gulp cup.
Oh wait, oh yeah, I think I do remember that.
And you
yeah.
were like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And then you took it into work,
Right, and we analyzed
and they
it.
analyzed
Yeah, I do
it,
remember
Found it
and
was natural algae.
it ended up being a little bug that creates a
Well, there was a jelly mass
cocoon,
there
a
as
jelly
well as
mass.
algae. Yeah, right.
So it's like this crazy. Do you remember the name of it?
No, I don't know.
So it ended up being. It looked like an alien. It was a giant. It looked like a clear.
It was nasty looking. I'll give you
It was
that.
nasty. It
Yeah,
looked
big
like
snot.
Yeah, and you found it in the river, and it looked like a clear brain.
Yeah.
And in the middle, there was like a little tiny like black thing,
Right.
and then you brought it in, and they analyzed it, and apparently it's some kind of bug that builds a cocoon around itself.
Right. A
and
jelly
it
sack,
looks like it's a giant jelly sack, and it like looks like an alien, and it lives in Lake Nakamixon.
Well, he did at one
Is
time.
it really true that the water's not good in Lake Nakamixon?
Well, you got to define what was good.
Like, can you go in it? Can you like swim?
Yeah,
in it
you can
and stuff?
swim it.
Do you recommend swimming in lakes?
No, not necessarily.
Why?
Well, because you got to know what kind of water you're swimming in. You know, there's people who've swum, or swimming in lakes that sometimes there's bacteria or amoebas in there. You heard of these brain-eating amoebas? Sometimes they're present naturally.
And they swim in your ears, and then you
no,
go to your brain.
go in any orifice like your nose. Basically, people mostly inhale water, and they get these amoebas. So you got to watch where you're swimming. But you know,
and the reason why I'm asking my dad all these questions, you guys, is because my dad works for the Department of Environmental
Used to.
Protection for how many years did you work for them?
37 years.
37 years.
Damn.
So reduce, reuse, recycle was a very big thing in our household.
Yeah.
We had reduce, reuse, recycle. Why don't you ride a bicycle? Reduce, reuse, recycle. So lame. I remember
kind
one
of
time
tortured you guys
he
bringing you
tortured
to
us.
those events.
I remember one time I threw a banana peel out the window, and Dad was like,
Stop the car.
I was like, ugh, hit my head on the dashboard. I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, get it. Go get it. Go get the fucking banana peel.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus, really?
Yeah,
You
some
made
of the
me
worst,
pick it up.
some of the worst pollutants we have are people throwing their cigarette butts out on the road, as well as dumping their ashtrays on the road. They figure it's harmless, but there's a lot of contaminants in the filters,
Ew.
and
Just
you know,
dumping their
and
ashes
that
on the
ends
road.
up in the environment. So.
Well, cigarettes are disgusting to throw on the ground. Cigarettes are gross to smoke, and they're disgusting to throw on the ground as it is.
So,
So I'm sure you have another story that you want to tell me. Have you thought of any in
I was
particular?
going to start out with my story about how I was born as a breech. I was born in 1953, 2 months early.
2 months early.
Yeah.
So you were preemie.
Yes, I was about 3.5 pounds when I was born.
Why do you think you were preemie?
I was.
I know.
told.
Why do you think that happened?
Oh, my mother. I was a late baby. My mother was older,
How old?
and let's see, I can't remember. Probably in her late 30s, early
Okay.
40s. So I was what they call a change of life baby, where basically my parents had 3 children. I figured that was it, and all of a sudden they got rid of everything, and then all of a sudden I was born.
Yeah.
So but they were glad they had me around because my brother ended up being killed later.
know.
So when he was 8.
Sad.
But I was born with my ass first, coming out, not head first.
That
And
happens to a lot of kids.
So my father used to tell people whenever I got in trouble that he'd tell them, he was born ass first, like,
Nice.
like it had something,
Nice.
That's the reason.
something to do with brain damage from the air deprivation.
Sounds good.
So, and then, I used to do some wacky stuff and
Can you,
like riding my wagon through the neighbor's garage door. He
Yeah.
had it down. We had this wicked hill behind our house, and I used to ride down and torture myself by trying to turn the wagon really fast and avoid hitting the garage. And one day I didn't turn. I went right through his garage.
your neighbor's garage?
Yeah.
What did he do?
He came over and knocked on the full door and told my father. My father punished me, and he had to fix the garage.
Did you get hit with the switch?
Oh, the belt.
The belt.
The belt,
Oh,
yeah.
the belt.
My dad had a bad leg. He used to tell me, "You come down those steps." Because I'd run up the steps knowing he wouldn't chase me. But he'd make me come down. And I'd say to him, "You're going to hit me." He goes, "You're damn right I'm going to hit you."
Yeah, tell the story about when you were spraying the fire extinguishers up in Penn State.
No, that's.
Why? I want to hear that story. What happened?
I went to. I was kind of a scholar athlete in high school, and
Yeah.
basically
My dad was swole, you guys. He was like,
got sent
like
to,
totally doesn't
got
look like that
sent to
now,
a
but he
camp.
was.
Got sent to a camp my junior year to represent the school, a government camp, and we were basically up there, a whole bunch of guys in their 18s and 17 and 18 years old, and we were basically in this camp for 2 weeks, and we just kind of got loose one night and had this huge fire extinguisher fight and water hoses and whatever, and basically, make a long story short, I was one of the leaders, and somebody yelled, "Hey, the campus police are coming!" So we threw all the extinguishers back where they belong, and rolled the hoses back up before the guys got there, but we couldn't do anything because the floors were just soaked. I mean,
What comes out of a fire extinguisher?
well,
leader of
it's
the
just soda
shenanigans.
ash paper, soda ash powder type of stuff.
So that was everywhere.
That was everywhere, but the worst thing was the fire hose because the water was just
You
wet.
guys were spraying each other with a fire hose?
We were having a battle.
Indoors?
Yeah.
Just dudes?
Yeah. Just
a
having
bunch
fight.
of dudes spraying
Just
each other
having
with
a fight.
a fire
Well,
hose?
Yeah, we were required to be in the buildings every night, like at 9 o'clock.
So you were
and
bored.
We were bored.
What camp was this again? Wasn't this like the Fort Knox or what was it?
No.
What was it? Not Fort Knox. It was the military
a camp
school.
put on by, I guess it was the American Legion.
But didn't you get
And
kicked out of?
it was Teach's government. Well, one of the things was I was one of the leaders in the camp, so I had a different color shirt than everybody else. Had to wear these shirts. And I got seen wearing a shirt like a dummy. I wore the shirt instead of taking it off. And so somebody ratted on me. And next thing I know, 3 o'clock in the morning, the camp counselor, leader of the camp, came, knocked on my door, said, and I acted like I was sleeping. He came, he says, we need to talk to you. So I went and talked to him, and he said, you were recognized by blah, 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 leading the charge on this. So we got to make an example out of you. This is like 3 o'clock in the morning.
What? Wait.
And so they
Well,
basically told me I was going to get kicked out. And they said, if you want, we don't want to take the complete blame for this, so tell us who else was in on it, because nobody else had gotten caught. And I said, no, it's okay. And so they said, well, we're going to call your father. And this is 3 o'clock in the morning. My dad worked hard. He was a construction worker. And I said, don't bother. And they said, why? He's going to tell me to walk home. So they called my father like at 4 a.m. He usually got up at 5 a.m. to go to work. And sure enough, he said to him, you know what? Tell that SOB to find his own way home. Hung up.
How far away was this from your house?
This is from Penn State, and I lived in Philadelphia at that time.
So you had to take like
So-
4 buses
Yeah, so the guys on my
and
floor,
hitchhike.
the guys who were on my floor, and the guy who was our basically overseer, supposed to be our guidance guy, counselor, he was missing that night, but he came back and he was really angry, and he said, I swear you guys are worse than the drug addicts in my town where I came from, where I'm a detective. To manage, and so he made them all pony up some money to send me by bus back home. And
Well,
then-
that was nice at
yeah.
least.
So I got back home. My father wouldn't come pick me up. And he
You
was
got
mad.
kicked out of camp.
He was mad at me for weeks. Yeah.
What's the name of that military school that I'm thinking of?
Valley Forge. Really?
No, there's like a famous
West Point?
Where didn't
Yeah.
you go there?
No.
Oh, I thought that's where this happened.
No.
Oh, I'm
Just
wrong. Okay.
So anyway.
So that's crazy.
That was
So you
our
got sent
wonderful
home?
experience. I got sent home.
Okay. And what about bad dates? Do you want to tell us some stories about any bad
Well,
dates
you
that
told
you've gone
the
on?
one story
I told the story
about
about
the
the girl
date.
who buried her animals
Sitting
above
there and
ground
I-
just in
yeah.
case they came back to life.
And
Didn't
yeah,
Dad ever tell
all
you
their
that
little
story?
heads were sticking out, and
So
that was the
creepy.
last date with that one.
Did you ever have go on any other bad dates?
I don't know. No, I can't remember anything that was more
Traumatizing than that.
Traumatizing than
Yeah,
that.
that's pretty creepy.
So that was pretty creepy. Yeah, and so like being born so early, I'm a December baby, so all my birthdays were mixed in with Christmas. Mm-hmm. 'Cause that's when the family got together. Mm-hmm. But because of that, I ended up turning 6 years old in December, and I was then enrolled in school, first grade,
So you were young.
when I was 6 years old in January. So these kids have been together for half a year, and I was the new kid on the block that came in. Mm-hmm. I was immature. I didn't want to go to school. So anytime recess used to come out, I'd walk home from school. It was only like a half mile. I'd walk home, I'd go in the basement, and I'd play. And the school would call my house, and my mother would come downstairs and scream and yell at me, drag me back to school.
You would just
Put me in
leave school?
I'd just leave school.
No one ever said anything
Well,
like,
we go-
hey, look at that little boy walking away. Like they just didn't
we'd go
watch
out for
you guys.
recess, and I disappear, and everybody go back in, and the teacher say, "Where is he?" And he went home.
Oh my God. You just go home?
And so then they got wise to what I used to do. So they basically used to watch me really carefully and have a guy. And so then I started raising my hand to go to the bathroom. And then I just walk home.
Excuse me, can I go to the bathroom at my house?
Break time.
Oh my God. I know, Dad. Don't worry.
Okay.
I love it. I've been doing this podcast for a really long time now. My dad's like, oh, the sign came up to take a break. Better listen. I take a break when I want to take a goddamn break. This is my podcast. I don't care if you have to pee your pants.
So then what, so then they started having somebody go with me to the bathroom. And this was a Catholic school, and we had Sisters of Mercy, the nuns who were
But showed
the
you no
teachers.
mercy.
And
Didn't one of the nuns bang your head on the chalkboard?
they were good. They were
Swear
very
to God.
good teachers, and they were great instructors, and but they were good enforcers of rules. I mean, we had a sister who could swing a pointer like a whip. She was really good at whacking people.
What was the worst thing they ever did to you?
Me? The worst thing was when I was chewing gum one time. Sister made me hold the gum up above my head for the entire day. And I couldn't put my arm down at the end of the day. Then she got mad at me because I wasn't putting my arm down, so she started hitting me until I put my arm down.
So they used to beat the shit out of kids in school.
Sometimes, yeah, and some kids deserve it. Some kids who had nervous energy nowadays would be put on Ritalin or something like that. And
Like
the cure,
tapping or shaking?
Yeah, the cure for those kids back then was the pointer getting whacked across their legs and their arms, and they learned to stop shaking.
And they would just hit them with it?
Yeah, they would whip them pretty good.
Would kids cry ever?
Not that I saw. Your pride kind of. Some kids did. I very rarely saw the young girls get hit, but the guys, man.
They hit the guys all the time. Didn't they hit your knuckles with rulers?
Oh, that was, yeah, you had to put your hand on the table and get whacked. And
why would they do that?
so you didn't move your arms when they hit to lessen the force.
Why didn't you ever say, would Jesus do this?
Yeah,
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
I would be like, I don't think Jesus would do
Hey,
this.
we learned. Some of these classrooms when I was a kid, they had 60 kids in a room. And sister had us quiet. You could hear a pin dropping out.
You could tell that they had
Nowadays they have 10 or 15 kids, but we learned 60
they had to
kids
take
in a
their
room.
aggression on you because they can't have sex with anyone, so they were
I
all
don't buy
fucking
that.
worked up, and they were
I
like
don't buy that.
horny and mad
I
at you
don't
kids,
buy
and they
that.
couldn't have any children or relationships, so they just beat the shit out of kids all day.
I don't think so.
So when did that stop, hitting children in schools?
I don't know. Later on, because right through high school we used to get whacked when we misbehaved.
Greg,
I'll
did
never
you-
forget the time when Mom broke the wooden spoon over my head.
Yeah.
Mom broke several wooden spoons over our heads. Dad would just bring a new one home like it was like, well, just
Here,
getting
this one's
here's
made of
another
You're
hitch.
supposed
one.
to fucking make the gravy, not fucking smack me in the fucking
Oh
head.
my God. Yeah, we won't talk about that. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and then I will be back with my dad and my brother on Worst First.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Taking care of your health is important, obviously. Yes, guys, we all know that. Taking vitamins has always been part of my life, but I always felt like, I would go to the doctor and they'd be like, oh, yeah, take vitamins, but like a lot of vitamins don't really do anything or you don't really see a big difference. And I grew up on Flintstone vitamins, so we can all tell how that went. Here's the difference. I found this company called Care Of, okay? And the coolest thing about Care Of is it seems like they really care about their customers. You go to this website, which is takecareof.com, and you do this little quiz where they ask you your health goals, your fitness, your lifestyle, your diet, and they ask you things that you want. Like I want to have less stress, or I want to aspire to be more calm, or whatever. And you fill out this questionnaire. It's super easy and actually kind of fun. And then at the end of the quiz, they recommend for you your daily vitamin supplements. And so it'll be all these vitamins. They'll explain what they do, what they are. And then once you order it, they come to you, and they're in these little also biodegradable packets, so your compostable packets, plant-based film that they're made out of, and you can throw them, so it's easy to throw away, recycle when you're done. They come in these little packets where it's like every day you're like, oh, I just take this packet. It's all put together. I don't have to have a pill box or anything. Everything in this packet I take, and it's for every day, and they come in this cute box, and it has your name on it, and it's just really awesome. So it's made a big difference for me, It's made a big difference for me. They put some different kinds of vitamins in mine that will help with energy and anxiety and all kinds of things. And I've actually seen a great difference in that. Now I take these vitamins. And so it's actually really rad. And so if you are interested in boosting up your routine, you're going to want to head over to takecareof.com and enter the promo code WORSTFIRST. That's WORSTFIRSTS. And that's takecareof.com, and enter WORSTFIRST for 25% of your first Care Of order. And the cool thing is, if you get some vitamins and things that you're not into, you can always get on there and change it up and figure out what works best for you. They'll work with you, and it's no drama, and it's into making you feel like your best version of yourself. So, again, takecareof.com, promo code WORSTFIRST, and 25% off your first order with Care Of. If you run your own business, you are used to doing it all. But if you're struggling to get through your to-do list, I have something that can help. HoneyBook. When you started a business, did you dream about all those admin tasks like drafting proposals and contracts and tracking down payments? I can guarantee that was not part of your vision. You need HoneyBook. Let me tell you what it is. HoneyBook is an online business management tool that organizes your client communications, your bookings, your contracts, and your invoices all in one place. It makes your business run even better. There's professional templates, e-signatures, built-in automation, keeps everything on track, and makes you look good. They can even consolidate services you already use like QuickBooks, Google Suite, Excel, MailChimp, and Gmail. It's the #1 choice right now for client and business management for freelancers and business owners. So why don't you do something for yourself and save some time to get to do more of what you love with HoneyBook? And I have an offer for all you listeners. HoneyBook is offering 50% off when you visit honeybook.com/worst. That's HoneyBook/worst, WORST. The payment is flexible, and this promotion applies whether you pay monthly or annually. So head over to honeybook.com/worst for 50% off your first year.
No.
Okay, we're back.
All right, ready? Go.
Ready to go. My dad does so many crazy stories that he doesn't want to tell because he's so used to working in politics for so long. He's trying to be so politically correct.
Well, you know,
Dad, you're retired. No one gives a shit.
The school,
Let it loose!
Tell the story about when you threw the guy out the fucking window.
My next door neighbor, basically.
Raymond. You don't have to summarize the story. You can take your time and tell the story. Like, you can take your time. You have to be like, okay, so basically this happened, and that's it, and that's the end of the story.
Like it's a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, it's like, this isn't, like,
Look here.
This isn't Congress. Like, you can take your time.
Or you're
a
little dictator, aren't you?
This is my podcast. So you have to be a good storyteller. You have to tell us details, like, where were you? What happened?
Oh, well,
what did
behind
he look
our
like?
house. My father had, in the city, had a little tomato garden. And he used to put stakes in to hold the tomato plants up. And he gave me a job. He gave me a board and a hatchet. You know, I was about maybe 7 years old.
He gave a 7-year-old a hatchet?
And my
Here, take this giant knife.
my job was to measure and cut all the stakes so they were right size. And Raymond next door kept grabbing the stakes off the wooden stakes off the thing I
Your
was
neighbor,
hitting.
Raymond.
Raymond,
He
yeah.
kept taking the wooden
Yeah,
stakes as you were
right.
trying to cut them.
And I told him, I said, stop it, you're going to get hurt. And he said, what are you going to do? Hit me with a hatchet? I said, yeah. So next time he grabbed the stick, I went, "Unk." I literally cut his finger right through the bone and had to take him to the hospital and sew it back on.
And Dad's just like,
My father said, what the hell did you do that for? I said, I told him not to put his finger there.
a little 7-year-old serial killer.
Crazy.
Wow.
All right, now tell the story about when you threw the guy out the window.
I was at the university and basically had a project back in those days.
Basically, just has to summarize everything. So basically,
Well, we had a project and used to use punch cards. Now, you guys have it easy with computers. You just type stuff in. But back then, you actually had to type information. They would punch it out on a little card with little holes. And then the paper cards got feeded in a feeder. And basically, it would read it. And then you'd get your results back like in a day or two on printed paper. And I was working on this project for long, long hours. And the dorm I was in was on the second floor. And it was just really a bunch of characters. They used to do all kinds of stuff.
like fraternity bros.
Yeah, they were just crazy. And I was working really hard on this, and I kept telling people to stay the hell out of my room and all that stuff. And this one guy was completely wigged out. And he came in and he took all the cards I was working on and tossed them out the window of the building because he was just whacking around. And I just lost it because I had been working on this thing for almost half a day, and I lost it. And I just grabbed him and I said, "You think that's funny? Why don't you follow him?" And I threw him out the window.
Yeah, I do think that's funny.
And he hit all these branches and everything on the way down. And
Was it a
basically,
two-story window?
Yeah, he basically hit the ground, and he was okay, but it just
He could have died though, huh?
He could have, and I was really upset I did that. And of course,
Anyway.
we had a priest at the end of the hall who was our basically hall monitor, and he came running. Somebody ran down to get him, and he came down and started getting all upset about it. And
Is the guy hurt?
No, not bad.
He got up.
Well, scratches and stuff. But
He's like, you threw me out the window. What the heck?
Yeah, so that was kind of a disaster.
Well, what had happened to you then? Did you get in trouble?
Well, I had to go out and get all the cards, and Father made this kid help me pick up all the cards. And
After
stuff
you
and
threw him out the window?
Yeah. Well, that's how we
Tell
resolved
a story
that.
about when you guys took the sign.
Oh, we were in.
How do you know all these? I don't know half of these.
He listens too much. I didn't think he was listening half the time.
I usually don't.
We were down there, and the nearby college was a girls' college, and we basically stole their sign one night. And
What sign? Like their Phi, Kappa,
their
whatever?
name of the school, and we unbolted it and stole it. It's a joke, And we were going to keep it in the dorm, and next thing you know, we're running across the different yards with this sign because they had called the police. And finally dropped the sign. We were hightailing it, jumping yards, and my buddy hit a clothesline in the dark.
In the neck?
Yeah. It just knocked him
levels out.
Just knocked him flat on his butt. Funny as can be.
So he got caught.
No, nobody got caught.
Oh.
It's just that, it really hurt.
So no one got caught.
No one got
Did
caught.
they get the
best of my
sign and
knowledge.
bring it back to the girls thing?
Yeah, eventually. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because they had to find it. We dropped it somewhere.
What was it like going on dates back in the day?
Dating
Like, where'd
was
you guys go? Like, movies were like 10 cents,
basically
right?
movies, dinners. They weren't 10 cents. What do you think? It was 1920s?
I don't know how old you are. I just assume you're like 100.
When I was a kid, it was 10 cents when I was a kid. Used to go to a rental theater and watch movies, and they used to have an intermission and they have contests, and I used to win the contest.
What was the contest
The
for?
balloon contest. You blow up a balloon, and the first one to break, you won free movie tickets. I used to squeeze the balloon and pop it.
Did any of the
So I'd
priests
win.
ever try to touch you inappropriately?
No, never had.
Did you
that
ever hear
problem.
about that?
No.
You never
had that
heard
problem.
anything about
The only
that?
time we had a problem was one time there was not a priest, but somebody who was helping us out at the school who was a little bit handsy with us. And,
that's handsy Bob. Just touching people.
One of the guys who I was an older boy with basically told his older brother, who came in and roughed the guy up, and he left us alone after that.
He didn't touch you, though.
No.
Okay, good. You're lucky.
I wasn't touch worthy.
You were too annoying. They were like, nah, that kid's annoying. Wait, have you seen the way he blows up
We
balloons?
were altar boys. One day we ate all the host in the back of the sacristy
did
with
that.
peanut butter and jelly.
You know what I did?
Father Gibson had a fit.
So my dad used to make us go to Catholic school after
For
regular school. It's
CDC.
called CCD.
Yeah,
Not
CCD.
CDC. That's the crime or
Civil
CDC's.
defense,
Yeah,
whatever.
Anyway, CCD. So we used to go there, and I was always terrible and never wanted to pay attention. Like I was just really badly behaved. And so one time I was so hungry, because my dad used to just make us steak and plain broccoli for dinner, and that was disgusting. So I was really hungry.
You're lucky you had food.
It's true. You did take us out to dinner most of
Yes.
the
Feed that shit to the dog.
Yeah, I know, I did too. Our dog ate so well. I used to. My dad used to take us to the Washington House for dinner
Right.
almost every night. But some nights
Not
he would-
every night.
almost.
South
but-
Perk.
South
South
Perk.
Perk.
Hell yeah! Shout out to South Perk. So
Grand Sasso.
Grand Sasso.
Fucking love that place. Is it still
Yeah.
around? Is it still working?
Royan Diner.
Yeah, so, but the nights that he did cook, it was a nightmare. So then, one time I went to CCD, and I was so hungry, and I went and I saw the little communion wafers, and I ate them all of them, the entire container. And the nun came in, and she was like, "What are you doing? Those were blessed!" And she yelled
You're
at
like,
me.
yeah, I'm really fucking blessed right
And you
now.
know what I said? I said, "Well, now I'm gonna have holy shit." Yeah. She's like, "Oh my god," and I was like, "Holy shit!" And then I had holy shit. Yeah, it was great. No, they're delicious. They really are. They should serve them like at restaurants. They should. They
Remember
should.
the time you worked at the pizza place and the guy got frustrated with you and had to go down there and
my God.
have a word with the man?
Oh my God, so
and
here's-
then he took off.
Here's a story, you guys. I used to work like my first job when I was like 15. I wasn't
Yeah.
even old enough to work really
Right.
yet, but my dad, we're Italian, and this guy owned this pizza place down the street, and they were Italian, and I went there, and this girl that I knew, Holly, remember Holly
Yeah,
who worked
Holly,
there? She
yeah.
told me, she's like, "Oh yeah, they pay you so well in cash every week, all this money." And I was like, "Wow, it's a lot of money for being a waitress, and this is just a pizza parlor." So I was like, "Okay." So I start working there, and I start the first week I noticed that she's making a salad, and the boss goes up behind her and he pulls her pants out and looks down her pants from behind and then just lets go, and she just keeps making the salad. And I was like, That's kind of weird. Like, what the hell?
What was
Like,
that
you know,
about,
I was
right?
like, dude, he just looked down your pants. She's like, yeah, he's just whatever. No one cares. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, right? So then I noticed, like, they were very touchy. They would, like, grab your shoulders and rub your shoulders. And I was 15 years old, and she was, like, 17. And I remember she didn't care because they were paying us, like, a lot of money. They were paying us a lot of cash because I think they were shady. And so, well, clearly they were shady. So then they start doing it to me. And they start pulling my pants out and looking down my pants, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like, this has made me really uncomfortable." And like, but they paid me like so much money that I was like, "Oh my god! Like, I don't know if I want to ruin my job over like just some weirdo just looking down my pants. Like, who cares? He wasn't like actually doing anything, but still, it's creepy, right?
Yeah.
You can see my brother just like getting so mad right now. So eventually, I was like, "Okay, this is getting weird," and like I got like a weird situation in the walk-in, and I was like, I went home and I told my dad. And you went over there, and you were like,
I was gonna rough
you
him
were
up.
gonna shut that fucking place down.
Yeah, I was gonna rough him up.
Anyway, they
He
ended
disappeared.
up they ended up getting the hell out, which was
Right.
crazy. Like, they were shady.
Well,
Yeah, but so anyway, yeah, that was a horror experience.
yeah, it was
You
tough.
remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
That
clearly.
was really fucking messed up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I that was one of my first jobs. See, this is why I shouldn't have a job. You know, I'm too good looking.
Oh God, please.
I'm just kidding. I'm not. You guys. I'm so glad that you guys are on the podcast. Greg, do you have any stories that you want to tell?
No, not really.
Oh, thanks for contributing. You never went on any bad dates? Did you ever go on a bad date with somebody? Like, did you ever go on a date where it's awkward?
It's more like I went on a date where it's when you go on a date with someone you're not attracted to. It's just like.
How did that
it's just not
happen? It was a
good.
blind date?
No, I actually met a girl through my work when I was out in California, but she was really well off. So that's why I went on a date with her, but I really wasn't attracted to her.
Just so, like, no moral compass whatsoever.
So I just went on a date with her, and she like rolled up in her like Cayenne Porsche, and I was like, oh, all right. And then we went on a date, and it was just I just wasn't attracted to her at all. So I was just like, it just wasn't.
You were like, I can't do this for
Nah,
money.
I can't do that. So I
Can't
learned
do
my
this for
lesson.
money.
Don't-
I can't.
Yeah.
So you'd be a horrible
Not even
gigolo.
for a ride to
I
Porsche.
was like, that's the lesson to be learned. Like, don't go on a date that you're with someone that you're not attracted to.
That's like every girl in California's MO. They're like, I want to find a rich guy. I don't care what he looks like. So many of them. I could personally never do that. But yeah, it's kind of, it's sad, right? Yeah, you can't really do that.
You can't if you're just not into them.
I'm the same way too. I can't unless someone's attractive.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that Tommy used to be a gigolo?
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yes.
So when Motley first lived in apartment buildings in Hollywood, they were getting paid $20 a week from their manager, and that was for all of them
Remember the
to
story.
share. Okay. And so there was this lady that lived in their apartment complex, and she saw them, and they were like, 4 good-looking guys. And she went over to the apartment one day, and she said, "Hey, I know you guys are kind of hard up for cash. Would you like to make some extra money?" And they were like, "Hell yeah! Well, what do we have to do?" And they said, "Just take some ladies on dates." And so Tommy would get paid to take women
Escort service.
he was an escort, and take them on dates.
That's cool.
Isn't that so funny?
That's good. That's fun.
Yeah. Isn't that an interesting story?
Remember
Is anybody there?
Remember when we had the sled ride from hell down the hill?
Yeah, but you don't remember it the same way I remember it.
Well,
So we had this giant hill
and we had
called
this old
Suicide
sled from
Hill.
the 1940s, a flexible
And my dad's
flyer.
like, let's use a sled that I got when I was 7. That's just like rickety and like the fucking axles coming apart, and it's just like a piece of shit. It was one of those
What was it good?
those
Flexible
rider
flyer.
sleds that
Yeah.
were made out of wood.
Right.
And you were like an adult man, and I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, we'll both not break
Clearly
this.
we overloaded
Way
it.
overloaded it. So then we go to this hill, the top of this hill called Suicide Hill, and as you know, if you live in Pennsylvania, it gets cold as shit in Pennsylvania and freezes over. Anyway, excuse me. So we're at the top of the hill, and we're like, here we go, and we're going down the hill, and I can feel the sled, and it's all.
And the blades came off.
And then part of it just falls off, and I'm ah! Like we're still flying down this hill because this hill was like basically like
Was
a
I with
straight
you with
drop.
that?
Yeah,
No.
you roll
Well,
over
I don't
on
know
your
where
arm.
you were. You had that blue disc,
But I
that
rolled
piece
over
of
his
shit.
arm.
Those
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Those blue discs we used to go down, they got all rusted, and we used to like, you'd be like spinning going down the hill.
Like Chevy Chase
And they were
in
metal.
that movie.
And I remember the sled, and then the other piece breaks off. And me and my dad were like on this little tiny thin piece of sled, and he goes, hold on, and then we hit the bottom, we're like, boom, and we we go flying, and you don't remember this, but I had my two front teeth were loose, and they fell out. Like I went like that with my teeth right on the ground, and they fell out. And then I remember there was blood in the snow, and you took your gloves off, and you were feeling around the snow until you found them.
I don't remember that.
I do. And then because I was like, no, because I was freaking
that traumatic
out.
For
well,
me.
it was for me, and I remember it clearly because I remember I was freaking out because I knew the tooth fairy wouldn't give me money
if I didn't have
the fucking teeth. I can't put nothing under there. And I was like, I need that goddamn 25 cents. Times are tough, you know. So so I made you.
That was a horrible day.
You took your gloves off and you were in the snow for like 20 minutes finding my teeth, but you found them.
Yeah.
And then I remember, you guys, I was such a sick fuck. I used to keep my teeth like after they fell out. I remember when they would pull them in the long.
Oh, you had that whole container. I still have that somewhere.
I have a container of my teeth.
All the baby teeth.
The root.
Yeah.
On some of my
you had some pulled because you had too many teeth in your mouth, and the roots were really long.
I had like 17 teeth pulled. Like I was constantly getting teeth pulled because they wouldn't fall out. And I remember they would inject your gum with Novocaine.
Yeah.
It was so painful. What was
I had that done when I had my wisdom teeth taken.
What was the dentist's name?
I don't remember.
Fuck, I forget his name.
Yeah,
I loved him though.
Dr.
He was
Corbin?
nice. Dr. Corbin.
Yeah,
No,
right,
Corbin.
Corbin. Yes,
Yeah,
Corbin. I
Corbin.
loved him.
Oh, is it Corman?
Corbin.
Whatever.
Dr. Corbin.
It's
Good
Corbin,
job.
yeah.
Corbin. Good job, Greg. I wonder if he's still alive.
I don't know.
Anyway, so I remember we used to go there because I had so many teeth in my mouth, and they would pull them out, and I remember he would go after it, and the root was like this long on my teeth.
They were pretty weird looking.
They were crazy, but I saved them all. I went home and I washed
had a box
them.
Of teeth. I might
and
still
then I
have
saved
that box.
all my teeth.
It's weird.
Yeah, and
fucking weirdo.
then I got weird like after the dogs, like Maggie Poos, rest in peace. Had a couple of her teeth pulled, and I saved those, and I still have them in a little container. Is that weird?
Yes, it is.
Well, you know, you do what you got to do. Maybe I'll make jewelry out of them one day. Do you guys like my molar earrings? No one likes your molar earrings. Those are weird. Do you have any other stories you want to tell?
I can't think of anything right now.
You have so many stories.
One time we were younger, Z-Man wore a shirt.
Oh my God, Zach.
Yeah, Z-Man wore a shirt.
He had this friend named Zach. Zach Attack, who we used to call. He was always like on several drugs. Like he was he was one of those troubled kids that just did any drug. Like if you're like, hey Zach, try this, he'd be like, okay. He wouldn't even ask what it is, and you just eat it. Like it'd be like meth. He would just eat it, and he was always like okay, Beavis and Butthead. Like he was literally Beavis. Oh no, Butthead, because Butthead was always like that. That was fucking Zach. Zach was always like,
Poor Zach. Stop.
He was fucking Zach. He was always fucking tweaked out.
He was a nice kid.
Like at first teeth were like like that. It was literally Beavis or Butthead. Which one was it?
I don't know.
Which one was blonde hair?
I don't know.
Beavis.
Anyway, so he so the one time he wore this shirt when we were younger, it was a picture of a kid like standing on top of a ladder, and he was like hanging another kid by his underwear off the ladder. That was the picture on the shirt.
Yeah.
And then it said higher education on the shirt.
Higher education.
Higher education. So we grabbed Z-Man by his underwear.
Oh, you guys used to give him wood.
And hung him from the swing set by his underwear.
You guys are horrible. I got called about that.
You guys
so
used
bad.
to torture him. Poor Zach. Is he okay now?
Yeah, just saw him at Todd's wedding. He's doing good.
He is? Is he normal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
he doesn't do any drugs or anything.
No,
he's
he's all
totally
cleaned
sober.
up.
He's clean. Yeah, he's good.
And then I remember his brother Blake was like a little like a Hercules, like Olympian god, and it was like the biggest contrast ever. Like one brother was like a crackhead, and the other brother was like a totally normal guy. Do you guys remember when I got beat up by Megan Ivins at recess? Yeah. Okay, so when I was little, one time at recess,
just had a problem.
My neighbor Megan Ivins, who I actually love, and I love her sister Mary Kate. And but Megan had diabetes, and she yes, and someone gave her a cupcake, and she went like turned into like one of the fucking like gremlins, and she just went psycho. And I remember she had blue icing smeared on her face, and she was like, and she just wanted to attack me for some reason, and she was chasing me around the playground, and I was like, and I was like running from her, and like I ran to the aide and Linda, and I was like, Linda. Like, she's trying to hurt me, and she's like, she's just playing. Get off me, kid, and, like, pushed me off. I was like, Linda, you fucking traitor! And, like, I'm running from Megan, and Megan grabs me, and she takes my head, and she's like,
What the fuck?
And she's, like, slamming my head on the ground. I'm like, like, getting my ass kicked. And I was, like, 100 freaking pounds. Megan was a bigger girl, so she's just beating the shit out of me and, like, turned me over and was like, like punching me in the face, all because she was on like some freaking crazy sugar high. And I was beat the fuck up. Like,
I
was
remember
bloody.
getting beaten up.
Yeah, and I remember I was trying to defend myself, so I was like, like crawling at her face. Like, I'm like, we're friends. Why is this happening? Like, I was so confused. Like, she just really enjoyed like beating the shit out of me that day. I don't know what was in that cupcake. So I go home. And I'm fucked up. And Mom was so mad. I came home and I was like fucking one eyeball like hanging out. I was like, ugh, like I was fucking all dizzy. And I was all beat up and Mom was like, what happened? And I was like, Megan Ivins beat the shit out of me. And then no sooner did I say that, it was like, if Patty was at the door. No, she was at the door with Megan. And Megan was eating a popsicle. I was like, why are we giving her more sugar? And she was eating a popsicle. She had something. And then she had like a scratch on her face and she's like, Brittany beat up Megan.
What?
And I was like, have you seen me? Yeah. I'm 7 pounds. Like, I beat her up. I would blow away if the wind was too tough. You know what I mean? Like, so her mom got into it because Mom was like, no, she didn't. Megan beat up Brittany. My mom loves to fight. My mom was like, I'm ready to fight anybody. So they got into a fight. Eventually, everything was okay as we got older. But yeah, I remember she beat the crap out of me. And then I remember, I used to get beat up a lot when I was little. I don't know why.
Just annoying.
I'm totally annoying. Agreed. Totally annoying. I would beat me up too. But I remember I used to go over Rachel Monroe's house.
Yeah.
And Rachel Monroe always had the newest. Remember Kevin and Rachel?
Yeah.
Kevin Monroe. Rachel always had the newest Barbies, and I was always so like, oh man, like Rachel's got the newest
But you used
shit.
to cut the hair off your Barbies.
I did.
And then you got into that stage where you're painting them with nail polish.
Yeah, all my Barbies were lesbians. Anyway,
faces on them, and
I gave all my.
you painted that thing in the back of your door.
Yeah, I had a dark phase. Yeah. They all know about that. So I was over Rachel Monroe's house, and every time I would want to play with her Barbies, like she'd be playing with them, and I'd try to touch one, she'd be like, no, and she'd like flip me over and sit on me.
Right.
And so I'd be like, I don't know, like I would just get sat on. This was like my childhood. It was really fun.
Remember in kindergarten when they read Gregory the Trash Eating Goat about me? Remember that shit? That shit pissed me off. So they changed the name. I swear to God, they made me go sit in the other room
The trash
by myself.
Goat.
I remember that.
Yeah,
so
they changed the name of the book. It's not Gregory the Trash Eating Goat anymore. Figure out what the name of it is.
That book is still around. If you guys look up this book, it's called Gregory the Trash Eating Goat.
You probably won't be able to find it because they changed the name of it.
Hold on.
Don't do that now.
I'm going to find it. There's a one called Gregory the Terrible Eater.
I remember the time you painted that beautiful picture in the back of your door.
It wasn't beautiful, Dad. I was in a severe depression.
It was beautiful.
No, it's Gregory the Terrible Eater, and it's a goat.
They changed it then.
It's a goat,
they changed the name of it. It used to be Gregory the Trash Eating Goat.
Terrible eater.
And
now
they read it to you, and you were the only Gregory in the class.
They read it to the kindergarten class.
Yeah. And
you got
I got fucking pissed off.
And everyone was like,
sit in another room.
Yeah. I was like, fuck that.
Did you get mad?
Yeah, I got pissed off.
He was
angry.
angry.
Go sit in the other room by myself.
They're like, go make that trash-eating goat go sit in the other room.
I remember when Mom painted that picture of that fucking creepy-ass clown and put that shit in my... Remember that?
In your bedroom.
Yeah, I hated that.
Ew.
Oh, my God.
Mom loved to torture us. Should we tell the story about how Mom almost...
No.
When Fred Schutte almost...
No.
I'll tell them when they're not here. Don't worry, guys. Anyway, so I went through a really dark depression. Everyone knows about this.
She had a beautiful painting on the back of her door, and as she got older... She slowly changed with scars and whatever.
Yeah.
And then you cut out this drawn baby face that you had.
Fetuses.
Yeah. And
sliced apart.
Pasted it to the top of the head. And, And then when I went to sell the house.
Okay, this is hilarious.
That painting was still in the back of the door.
So the doors were all open when my dad was showing our house.
Open.
And you couldn't see the back of the door. And so this lady walks into my room and she goes, oh, this will be great for my son. He's just a little boy. He'll love this room, right? Meanwhile, they had no idea that on the back of the door was like this demon painting that I did. I used to listen to like OK Computer and just like paint weird shit. And I painted this like horrific demon painting on the back of the door. So,
but you were a good painter. You were a good drawer. And,
I tried. So anyway, so the lady buys the house.
And I don't know this day. It probably still has that painting.
And then shuts the door.
It's a Brittany original.
And the little boy. Was horrified.
Never wanted to stay in that room.
He
again.
was like, "What the fuck?" It was like a demon. There was some of my blood on there too. I was
just
a mess.
Probably painted over it.
I mean, they would have had to scrape all the
That's why I didn't do it, because you had to scrape it.
Because I
pasted
the drawings on there with like lacquer. It was a nightmare. I was fucked up.
One
Were you depressed in high school?
Nah.
You were
Fuck no.
fine.
Yeah,
Did you
absolutely.
like high school?
Yeah, it was fun.
You did?
Yeah, we had a good time.
Ew, I hated it. It was the worst. Did you like high school?
Yeah, I had a great time.
What the hell? Oh, all right. Fucking,
What the fuck's the matter
what's
with
up,
you?
howdy doody?
So they got beat up pretty badly one time by the gangs in my neighborhood.
Why'd you get beat up?
Well, my neighborhood had gangs. We had the Simon Rec Gang, and we had the Clang from the Upsall Street Recreation Center. And the Clang and the Rec used to constantly fight with one another. And then there was the Vernon Road Gang. And so you had to be in a gang, and I didn't need gangs. I was friends with most of the guys in every one of the gangs, but one day we were out playing basketball, and basically one of the guys who I knew used to play basketball and was on drugs really bad.
Like what kind of drugs?
I don't know at the time, but he basically didn't even recognize who I was, pulled out a knife, and demanded I give him all my money. And I said to him, James, you know me. He said, I want your money. And he basically cut me on the arm.
He stabbed you?
He cut me, swung the knife at me and cut me. And I said, what the hell are you doing? And his sister, who knew me, started yelling at him from nearby. And he left me alone after that. And
Did you give him your money?
no, I didn't give him anything. His sister came and got him and took him away. And I was really sad about that because he was a nice kid. I mean,
He sliced you?
he swung at me and cut me. And then later on, as the gangs got worse, one time I was on my way home from football practice, and a bunch of guys just stomped on me.
For no reason?
Well, they figured I had football gear on, I guess. They figured I could take it and basically beat the hell out of me. So I went home and told my father, and they had taken my cleats, and my father says, I'm going to show you how to fight. And went in the backyard, and my father beat me with a trash can, saying, this is how you fight.
Oh, my God.
I stand there and putting up my dukes like to fight, and my
just
father
throws the
whacked me
trash
with a
can
trash
at you?
can. He says,
That's not really fair.
He says, this is street fighting. You don't use your hands. You never use your hands. You use whatever is nearby to hit people with. Gee,
Oh
thanks,
my
Dad.
God. So you were already beat up, and then your dad beat the shit out of you again?
Hits you with a metal trash can.
Oh, my gosh.
So, but that was probably a bad day.
Yeah, that sounds
I
like a
didn't
bad
that.
day.
I didn't like that. It was that was a very sad day.
You got your cleats stolen.
Yeah.
Did you ever get them back?
No. I had to save up my own money to buy new cleats because my father said he didn't want me playing football anyway, and he was right. I got hurt.
Didn't you know these kids' parents? Couldn't your dad go over there and be like, hey,
Some
my
of the
son-
kids I knew, but the other kids I didn't. So
Remember one time when you started recording Pop-Up with the phone, he grabbed your wrist and
Oh, my God. Our pop-up was the funniest guy
Yeah,
ever. He killed my hamster. I already told that
Oh, he
story on
squeezed it
here.
too
He
hard. He had
squeezed
no
it to
feeling
death
in
and
his
blew
hands.
smoke in its face, and it went and died. And then, but my grandpa was so funny. Like, he was actually just like such a funny dude. And one time I was videotaping him, and I was annoying him, and it
Don't
was
take
like
an ugly picture like that.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was,
don't
I
take
was
an ugly picture.
videotaping him with my iPhone. It was like when iPhones first came out, and I had the iPhone all close to his face. And he was like, don't you dare take a goddamn ugly picture like that. And my grandfather was old as shit, so I was like, what are you going to do about it, Grandpa? And I had like all like in his face with the phone. And then out of nowhere, my
being
grandfather...
annoying again.
But then my grandfather was so annoying, the most annoying person ever. So my grandfather, out of nowhere, gets like the superhuman strength of like a 22-year-old.
Yeah,
He just
old
goes,
man
ah,
strength.
and like sticks my arm, and he's like, ah, like breaks my arm. He's like, ah, and I'm like screaming. He's like, I told you not to take a goddamn ugly picture like that. And I'm like, ah. Our grandfather used to torture us. Like, he would babysit us, and like everyone thought
We
it was
started
okay.
swatting me and
oh
John
my God,
George
oh my
with
God. Let me
water.
tell the story. So me and my brother and my cousin John George, we would go. I know, Dad. I
Okay.
know. Okay, it's my podcast. The sign says wrap up. I know. Okay, it's my
Wrap
podcast.
it up, B.
I do what I want. Okay.
Okay.
So anyway, my brother and my cousin John and I were younger, and we used to stay in Sea Isle City, New Jersey. Shout out to Sea Isle. And our parents would all go out to dinner, and they'd be like, oh, we can leave him with the Grandpa John. And I was like, oh my God. Because every time they left us with Grandpa John, he would torture us. So
Yeah.
soon as the door shuts, I look over and I just see my cousin John George
Flush water.
come running down the hallway screaming. He's all, ah! And, like, he's running, and my grandfather's running behind him with the fly swatter, and he's just beating he's just hitting all of us with the fly swatter, laughing.
You were misbehaving.
Thinking
that's
it's
why.
funny, and we're like, ah! We're like running over out, and he's chasing us.
How about when he was hiding in the hallway and John George ran through the hallway and he like came out the hallway and like started like swing, like missed him, like swung.
Mouse,
Yeah,
remember?
go ahead.
So he played this game called Mouse where he would cross his fingers and
bite
he'd
you.
go, stick your finger in, see who's home. And I'd be like, I don't want to see who's home. He's like, stick your finger in. I was like, oh, fuck. And like,
He's like, oh, it's a baby mouse.
He's like, oh, it's baby mouse. And he'd like
And then
rub
a
your
little
finger
bit.
all soft and he'd go, uh-oh, did you hear that? And
No,
and then
he'd go take your finger out and
Yeah.
then you go, okay, now put your finger back in.
Yeah,
and then he'd do it.
Yeah, and then he'd go, and then he'd clench his fingers
Yeah.
tight so you
And
couldn't
then
get your
pinch
finger
your
out. And he
nail.
goes, uh-oh, did you hear that? I'm like, no, I didn't hear that. What is it? And he's like, I just heard the door close. I'm like, oh no, what does that mean? He's like, Daddy Mouse is home. And I was like, fuck, what does that mean? And then he'd take his nail and he'd dig his fingernail into your finger. And he'd be like, Daddy Mouse is home. And I was like, ah! And he'd be like torturing us. So fucked up. But
he
we
was
loved
fun.
him.
Yeah,
he was
he's good.
hilarious. He was funny. I mean,
I like how
he made us bleed a little bit.
I like how your grandmother wouldn't let you go down to the beach or
Oh
go
my
in the
gosh.
water. She'd be
She'd be
yelling
yelling
at you
on
from
the
the
balcony
balcony.
and shit.
Sharks.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
guess what?
Sharks!
So literally, our balcony right at the Spinnaker.
Overlooked
We
it.
stayed at the Spinnaker. In Seattle City, New Jersey, for anyone who lives there. So one day, me and my cousin and my brother were like 13, 12. We're like, we're all going to go in the ocean. She's like, no, you stay here, God damn it. And we're like, nope. And we just like left. And she was like, ah! She was so upset because she was supposed to watch us. And so we look back and she's out on the balcony
Yelling,
watching
"Shark!"
us.
Freaking out.
And we're walking out to the beach and she's like, sharks! Shark! And she's waving her arms saying shark. And everyone on the
It was like
beach
getting
can
out of
see
the water.
her. So everyone on the beach turns around. They're like, is there a fucking shark? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, should we get the kids out of the water? But it's just my grandma being so paranoid.
Yeah, she was.
Oh,
Oh my
God
God,
bless her.
no
God
wonder.
bless her.
Listen, no wonder I have such bad anxiety. Our family used to make me neurotic. Like when Uncle Angelo, we would be on the monorail, which is just a monorail
Oh,
that
he's
goes
gonna do
straight.
loops.
And then
He's gonna do loops.
he leans over to me and my cousin John. And he goes, "Wait for the loops." And I was like, "What?
You guys hated that.
Fucking
It was
loops?"
a scenic ride through the woods.
Yeah, it was
There's
just a
no
straight ride. There's no fucking
Dude,
Dude,
loops.
this thing's gonna
freaked
start
out.
doing loops.
They
Yeah.
start freaking out.
So me and John start crying because like fucking we think the thing's gonna do like back loops and shit. I'm like, no wonder I'm fucked up. Like I'm so neurotic, paranoid. Yeah, so that's
you
why I
came
am the
out
way.
okay.
I'm not okay. I'm in mess, but it's, it is what it is. Anyway, it's been really great having you guys on here.
Thank you.
Is
I'm
there
sorry
anything-
I
Thank you
told
for
you
having
I don't have many
You were
stories
great!
that could your audience.
You were great.
Attract
The
your
audience
audience.
loves you.
Yeah.
They'll love you and they'll love you. Oh, and by the way, my brother, really quick before we wrap up, has a astrological YouTube channel. Do you want to shout it out? What is it?
Yeah, it's called Gregory Furlan Tarot. Is the YouTube channel that I have. So it's Gregory Furlan Tarot, Tarot.
Yep.
So I do monthly tarot card readings for every sign. So check
Yeah.
it out. I also have my Instagram page, Gregory Furlan Official. So if you're into astrology, if you like that kind of thing, check out my page.
Yep. My brother does astrological readings. And when you first started doing them, I kind of didn't really believe you. But then you started posting the daily ones. You're like, today Virgo will be influenced by this and by that. And it was crazy because I told you the one day you were like, today Virgo will be influenced by a baby.
Right.
And then randomly, Tommy's bass player, Nikki, called us and said, come hang out. And we went and hung out with them. And they just had a baby. Right. And I was like, that's so weird that you said that. And then another day it was like, Virgo will be influenced by drinks. And I was hanging out with my friend and she got really wasted and it really pissed me off. And I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. So you've done it a couple times. I've told you every time that you've done it, but I can't think of them all off the top of my head. Anyway, go follow him and make sure to check it out. And thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you.
being
Thank you for
here.
having us.
Make sure to like and subscribe, you
Yay.
guys. And thank you so much to all of you who are watching and liking the podcast and enjoying and listening and sticking with me because I'm a psycho, and that's great. And we'll see you next week on Worst First.
Peace out. Peace out.
Yay! Oh my God. Peace out. Back in 1970.
1970.
It's Woodstock again. Yay!
Yeah.
Thank you.